First of all, we are pleased to announce the winners of the Federation's Awards Program, which aims to celebrate and recognize business associations and member associates for their accomplishments and milestones. There are 4 categories of the awards, namely the Best Initiative Awards, Young Development Awards, Excellent Startup Awards, and Outstanding Membership Awards. This year, our awards program committee have selected total 17 winners under 4 categories. The winners of the Best Initiative Awards are Hong Kong Chamber of Commerce in Guangdong, Japan Hong Kong Society Tokyo Chapter, German Hong Kong Association, Italy Hong Kong Association, Hong Kong Association of Atlanta, Hong Kong Canada Business Association. The winners of Excellent Startup Awards are Hong Kong Malaysia Business Association Film Wallet, Hong Kong Malaysia Business Association Kepulauan.xyz. The winners of Youth Development Awards are Hong Kong Chamber of Commerce in Guangdong, Hong Kong Association of Southern California. The Outstanding Membership Awards are Hong Kong Malaysia Business Association, Portugal Hong Kong Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Hong Kong Business Association of the Midwest. The Percentage Increase Achievers Prize winners are Japan Hong Kong Society Kyushu Chapter, Thai Hong Kong Trade Association, Hong Kong Malaysia Business Association, Hong Kong Business Association of the Midwest. Once again, may we congratulate all winning associations for your great work over the year. Coming up next is the panel of opportunities arising from health tech innovation and wellness. Facing the post-pandemic era, young entrepreneurs not only need to deal with the new normal, they also need to identify what would be the next normal for making the businesses survive and grow. The changing demographics in Asia, coupled with health consciousness, represent ample business opportunities. In this section, Hong Kong young entrepreneurs will share their stories and insights on the development of health tech and wellness businesses. Today, we are pleased to have 3 young entrepreneurs to share their views and insights with us. They are Mr. Justin Chan, CEO of Jones Technologies, Dr. Jackie Liu, Chief Medical Officer of Bowtie Life Insurance Company Limited, Ms. Yvonne Low, Chief Marketing Officer of Lify Wellness. We are also delighted to have Mr. Ricky Choi, Senior Manager, Smart Living of Hong Kong Cyberport, to chair this section for us. The floor is yours, Ricky.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ricky, Senior Manager of Smart Living Cluster of Cyberport. Thanks for the invitation from Hong Kong TDC and Federation of Hong Kong Business Association Worldwide to moderate this session. Joining us today are Justin Chen, CEO from Jones Tech, also Jackie, CMO, Dr. Jackie Liu from Bowtie, and Yvonne, Chief Marketing Officer from Lify Wellness. So how are you all today? Good? Great. All good? Yeah, we have a sunny day outside, although a little bit cold this morning, but now it's getting better, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Great.
Indeed.
So before we dive into the panel introduction, you may ask why Cyberport, me as a representative, is here to moderate this session. Let me give everyone a brief introduction to what we are doing in health tech. Cyberport is a digital technology hub with a strong community of over 1,700 on-site and off-site companies, including startups, tech enterprises, and others in the innovation and technology sector. So Smart Living is under my radar, one of the major clusters for the vertical. So in our community, Smart Living, we have almost 700 startups that are focusing for a lot of, smart living, like the lifestyle technology, like the health tech, ed tech, retail tech. So a lot of stuff. But health tech and germ tech definitely is what we are facing, especially after the pandemic situation. Everyone, is bringing a lot of awareness on this. And as the integration of innovation and technology has become a new trend, quite a number of our startups have the ambition to extend the application of their solution to this sector. And Cyberport is committed to support them by connecting the INT sector with our platform to promote their cutting-edge solutions. So without further ado, so let me ask the first question with Justin. Okay, are you ready? Justin?
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Okay. So, Justin, I really want to know one thing, because we met many times, these days.
Yes.
Like yesterday, we also met in Cyberport. So, can you share more about how your entrepreneurial journey, why you, interested in the health tech area, especially as I mentioned to you many times, your stuff sounds quite, sophisticated. How you manage it?
Sure. As an entrepreneur, one of the main things that we look at is impact. So we always chase those. It's a bit more than just creating something that you're proud of. If it touches people, if it's helpful to society, it's always something that sticks with you and motivates you a lot more. And obviously, healthcare is one of the places that, as all the panelists are in, knows that would have a lasting impact. It would always have some of the next steps you can go for. So that's generally why we picked something like this in general in terms of this sector. And it's also about practicality as well. A team has several PhDs on medical background, on electronics background, and that's how we came to the device that we're making, and that's how we came to how we utilize the sort of strengths that we have in terms of growing as well.
Yeah, because according to the rundown, you need to talk more, share more about your company. So sure. Let's do this.
Sure. I'll briefly talk about what we do in 1 minute or two, but it's really quite simple. We do two things in GES Technologies. We do diagnostic screening, so early detection, so that you can detect disease early and treat it early. Second one is chronic disease management. So once you know you have diseases, how we manage those so that it doesn't deteriorate really quickly without you knowing, or if it's recovering or it's improving, we know that and keep doing the good stuff as well. And we are mainly looking at 3 organs at this stage. We're looking at lungs, liver, and kidney. And the way we do it is really quite simple. So if I go to the next slide, we have a band that's entirely proprietary that connects with the device that we have. So this is what I'm holding in my hand. And we essentially wear this around the place that we want to scan. So if it's something on lungs, we just wear it around. It touches the skin, so I won't demonstrate here. But if it's liver, we do a bit lower, and kidney a bit lower. And the entire thing it's around 5 minutes. We take 30 to 200 images per second, and we look at mainly soft tissues. So the prevalent diseases in lungs, like COPD, ILD, other things. Liver, we look at fatty liver, we look at fibrosis. Kidney, we look at chronic kidney diseases. Those are all the things that we track and we want to detect early. And the good thing about this is that we make it really simple for users, that you can use it at home, so you don't have to rely on medical personnel to help you. So the device we have, it's on the bottom right, that connects to the internet via cloud computing, and then we can control everything via the app. So everything is designed in a way that we can send the device to you. We can give you a week to test, and after that, someone will come collect the machine, and then you can see the results, essentially digitally. And some of the partners, private hospitals, clinics, could call you up to follow up as well. And obviously, with that, if we know your risk factor, after the test, let's say you have a fatty liver risk factor, we can tell you what those are, how you should manage those, and what are consequences if you don't. I would do a really, really brief introduction from here, and then we can perhaps...
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
But you still have a slide to go over.
Sure. So I can talk a bit more about what we do in here. So one of the example would be the government has asked us to monitor COVID recovery patients in Hong Kong. So after they got out of hospital, after they recovered, they still need to quarantine in Hong Kong for 14 days in their own place. So what we did is we sent a device to them, and then they can do a 5-minute scan every day for 14 days. And we can be able to monitor the recovery schedule, whether they're doing well, left, right, lung sort of ratio, and all those stuff. And obviously more than that, it could be used for slightly less regular checking, like every quarter, that we're partnering with hospitals and with clinics to do that. And obviously it also goes to community-based testing as well. So we're also talking to the government on putting it in elderly centers, in community centers, so that people don't have to go to a hospital for all the checks. That you can just go, have a volunteer or have a sort of a minimally trained staff helping elderlies to detect stuff early, so that we can do a better triaging and sort of in an aggregate sense, save the system a lot of treatment costs on this as well. And that's mostly what we do. So we do, other than lung, liver, kidney, there are diseases that we're looking at. So there are musculoskeletal, so tendon-based disease, sports injuries. Heart disease is something that we're looking at as well. Cancer is one of the next steps. So we're looking at would be the big organs like in lungs. Stage 1A lung cancer would be something that we could potentially sort of flag up as well. And yeah, one thing about us that's good is that we can do trend analysis. So it could be done a lot more frequently if it's inside a hospital setting. So it could be daily, it could be even, within a couple of hours. But on the other hand, it's also a really good engagement tool for sort of telemedicine, for you to have more personalized care. And it's also a lot more touch point that you don't have to wait for a year before you go to a clinic to get your test. We can send it to you, and then you can detect diseases hopefully a lot earlier if we do quarterly, if we do monthly scanning. And all of the things that we do, we work with professors. We have 8 professors partner in Hong Kong. We have quite a lot more globally. We have a team of PhD researchers working with us as well. And everything that we do is correlated with the medical gold standards. So whenever doctors want to do a test on a disease that they thought they want you to check up, we benchmark against those. So we can do a referencing so that it's easier to integrate into the system as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So the second speaker is Jackie from Bowtie Life Insurance. So Jackie, can you share some of the recent development of Bowtie? Because most of the people know a lot of different insurance company in Hong Kong, but how's your business in Bowtie? How's it different? Share more about with us.
I'll be very happy to. I think, please allow me to give a brief introduction of Bowtie and where we're heading. So Bowtie was one of the first virtual insurer in Hong Kong. The virtual insurance license was basically issued out of the notice that insurance has been moving online all over the world, and it has been issued by the insurance authority about 3-4 years ago, and we were very happy to be the first company who received that license. And as a token of trust, we have been had the investments from Sun Life and Mitsui, both of which have a very large insurance and health business. And so what exactly do Bowtie do? We, as mentioned, are a virtual insurer. Our mission is to distribute protection products to our customers, and we want to establish ourselves as a health insurance provider. And what this translates for us is, in terms of products, we, as much as we can, leverage tech to deliver a rich in benefits but price competitive insurance products. And we focus a lot on health education of our customers because being an insurer who distributes online without traditional agents or brokers who kind of explains products to you, what we're really banking on is insurance, the products that we provide and the way we explain it would attract customers to actually understand the products themselves. And we've been actually been quite successful in that regard. Our customer base is mainly 35 to 45 years old. They're typically tech savvy and typically educated. I like to coin that a lot of them are insurance connoisseurs in the sense that they really know what they're buying, and we're a welcome addition to that. And lastly, because of our health ambitions, we recently started operating our healthcare providing arm, and we opened our first clinic. And what we plan to differentiate ourselves is to focus on preventive health. We want to be an insurer that helps our customers to actually stay healthy and live longer and healthier. Yeah. So that's it about Bowtie. I wonder if there's anything else.
Or maybe you can also share how do you see this market? Because in Cyberport we have 4 virtual insurance company. And actually, under the Hong Kong Insurance Authority, that we have all, actually in Cyberport, we have all 4 licensees under Cyberport community. So how do you differentiate your business with other 3?
I think the future of virtual insurance in Hong Kong, I see as very promising. I think all of us had our business grown quite well within the last couple of years. I think we're not fierce competitors between each other, I would say, because I think we all carved out a different niche for ourselves to focus on. Bowtie, we choose ourselves to focus on health. And how we plan to differentiate, I think, first of all, is customer awareness. I think, I would like to share, I think COVID, although it's a very tragic event all over the world, for our business, is actually, I would say actually it's a positive impact for a couple of reasons. In terms of distribution, when COVID was at its worst, our business was actually doing very well. We noticed that from our numbers. That shows that our distribution is a welcome sight for a lot of customers. And in terms of the health awareness, the second factor that I mentioned that Bowtie is focusing on, I think COVID has raised awareness for the kind of chronic disease and the state of health that a lot of people previously might not have been aware of. I think both the online distribution and the health awareness was on the upward trend of awareness both before COVID. But I think since COVID, it has gone up even more. So I'm very hopeful from that regard that customers is more and more getting know about us.
As I told you before, I'm your customer as well. So I'm sure that I have did the comparison online, and I see your competitive edge. Okay, so over to you, Ivan.
Hello.
Yeah, please share your wellness journey, how you changed our smart living life for most of the people, please.
Well, I'll tell you a little bit. Lify Wellness. We are a total wellness design solution. So we vow to give you your daily dose of wellness through our beverages and our machines. So I just want to give you a little fun fact. As we were talking about COVID, so now the current situation is 2 out of 5 people are pretty much always stressed out, either whether it's because of COVID or the current situation, can't travel. And about 50% of us are now doing more stuff at home. So whether it's work from home, we're spending a lot more time at home by ourselves. But at the same time, 8 out of 10 people are seeking more in a community-based spirit where we still want to be engaged with the world, but in another format. So this is our mission. We are a science and design tech-driven company, and we create a purpose-driven product and service that gives a solution for a everyday healthier lifestyle. So from this, we see the current opportunity where we're doing a lot more things at home. We want to be relaxing at home. We're celebrating a lot more at home, doing a lot of parties, cooking at home more often instead of eating out, and obviously work from home. I work from home all the time now, and it's actually quite beneficial. Exercise, right? I do my exercise in the morning watching a video, and of course my kids are gaming more so at home these days. So that kind of lead us to come up with our solutions. So in 2019, we developed a smart brewing system where basically we can duplicate the process of leung ta, which is a Chinese tonic. And within 40 seconds, we'll be able to give you a nice hot beverage where you normally will be able to do it within 30 minutes. So through this process, our machines are our own patent. We develop a specific technique and also develop an app to go along with the machine to give you a much better understanding of your body. Then within that, we also developed a sparkling tea tonic, which we just launched back in September. And now we have a functional, purpose-driven, TCM-backed, traditional Chinese medicine-backed beverage that offers you your daily dose of wellness. So that's kind of the short form of what we do.
Okay. So your presentation is over already?
No, I mean, you were going to ask me about how we're going to market it, right?
Yeah. You are very clear. Yeah, please share more. You still have 2 minutes.
Okay. So within the whole pandemic, we've launched 2 different types of product. And what are some of the things that we're doing actively is, as I mentioned before, we're really more into a community base. So from our product, we are able to capture an audience that is really into wellness. At the same time, we are talking to a lot of traditional Chinese practitioner, we are health coach, sleep coach, a lot of wellness professional in the industry. At the same time, we also meet with a lot of collaborators where we can bring our product into their business. So within these 3 pillars, we actually created a Lify Wellness Club where we can basically use this platform to leverage each other and to cross-market within each other. So some of the things that we're doing currently is through our professionals, we're able to provide workshop instead of just only providing a product into B2B sectors. We actually do workshops that is related to sleep, stress, health, and also recovery time. So because of this, we are able to be a little bit unconventional in terms of our marketing tactics. And obviously, some of the reason I still believe you need to have online strategy and offline strategy as well. So throughout this time, we also focus on digital marketing, as most people do. Through our workshop, we're able to touch people in a more personal level. And obviously, our product, we can get it into the business or into the household. But last but not least, we also have our pop-up stores that is happening in Central. So do come on by until mid-January, 98 Wellington Street in Central. And this is what it looks like. And this is basically our showroom, showcasing what we are capable of, what we can do for the community and for the workplace. And last but not least, these are some of our partners that we're working with, and we could not do it without our collaborators and our partners. So that's pretty much it.
Thanks. Wow. I can't see Cyberport logo. You should join our community soon because 2 of our founders here. Yeah. Okay, great. Wow, that sounds interesting because 3 of your business model is very different, but all because of pandemic that help a lot how you still stay at home, but you can enjoy the benefit of the innovation and technology. Very good. So shall we move to the panel discussion now? Yeah, okay. So I got the one question, the key question first for all of you, but Justin, why don't you go first? What are the key factors that you suggest the young entrepreneur would like to start their business? Because, well, this is our main theme today. So, please.
Well, the obvious main thing is always the product market fit. It's always the first thing that you look at. And the second thing to look at is whether you are, one of the best person to do it. So looking at your strength. And if not, start building your strength. But yeah, when we look at what to build, obviously it has to be something that's useful, that has a market. That's something that you can think through and have a lot of feedback saying, okay, this is something people would want, but not just want, would pay for as well. And then with that, you start thinking about why you're the best person to deliver this. Because sooner or later, you need to talk to funders, you need to talk to different people who are supporting you when you start out to see, having that sort of a concept of why this is a good team to deliver this. And so this would be 2 really short points that I would start on when I look at things. Very good.
So Jackie, so right now in Bowtie, how many staff is employing, and what is the percentage of the young people in your team?
I think we just reached employee 100 recently. I think our human resource has very kindly calculated our average age of the company, and it's under 30. We actually had a competition within the company, and to guess where it was, and the answer turned out to be under 20, under 30, yeah.
Okay, so meaning the majority is young people, right? So, because in Cyberport right now we're promoting the entrepreneurship mindset. So how do you grow your team, your people? Every one of your staff is an entrepreneur, not just a staff.
I think I would correct that what we do slightly. I don't think we kind of force them to to hold on an entrepreneurial role. But I think what we do is, I wouldn't classify myself as a traditional entrepreneur because I had the pleasure of working for 2 co-CEOs who I consider as the true ones. But I think what we do is we kind of live by examples, and I think there are some core values that would slowly transpire, and what we hope to do is actually set that as our company culture. So I'll just name 2. It's sort of, one, I think I learned that from a friend of Michael. I think it's to have a very clear vision of where we should head, and the ability to articulate that clearly and concisely. I think whether it be like to internal team communications to actually get everyone on board to march at the same pace, or externally to customers, to investors. And actually, sometimes in our debate, when we're trying to make a decision, kind of, if we have that clear goal in everyone's mind, it's very easy to kind of just circle back to what was our original objectives to begin with. So I think that's one that really rubbed out on myself, and I think I've seen colleagues who kind of joined us fresh and worked for us for a while kind of starting to take on. And I think secondly is the teamwork spirit, in which everyone is not treating this just a job, but there is a mission behind it. And I think what that kind of translates into is everyone just put in that little bit of extra effort. And being a startup, that really helps because we're not rich in resources, but we have to accomplish probably kind of twice what our resources should be accomplishing, so if not more. So I think those are the 2 that I've seen. There are more, but I won't take up the time. But in short, I think we encourage everyone within our company to kind of practice good professionalism. I think that's what we try to do.
Very good. Thank you for promoting this entrepreneurial spirit, for the community. So, Yuan, I know your founder, as you know, very well, a long time. So, in your company, because both of them is a young entrepreneur. So, have you learned some of the mindset from them and how they treat you? Okay.
So I met Mason and Connie when I was in the consumer electronic business. So we met at CES in Vegas, and actually also in HKTDC. So I also have another company in electronic business. So I think I'm way too old to be a young entrepreneur anymore. I think the drive, the energy level, and making something out of from no money to make money is 10 times harder than when you have a big budget to make it even more. So I think the energy level and the resilience, as we're speaking, Mason is currently having her 2nd child. It's like last trimester. So those are some of the the multi-talent and the multitasking that a entrepreneur needs to have. And I think definitely it's one of the, the most valuable asset and lesson that I learned personally, even though you see a lot of different types of entrepreneur. And it's the passion, it's the drive that what's drive the business. So.
Yeah, I completely agree. Especially you just mentioned you have kids, right? Playing games, but you also are the entrepreneur. You how to balance it? How you balance the busy work and your family life?
So I actually recently I found a quote from Jack Welch. So he said, "Work-life balance is a choice. Whatever you decide is a choice, and your choice has consequences." So basically, there is always a pros and cons on making that decision. I could be driving my kids to a certain soccer game right now, but I'm here today. So I think it's you have to also know your time is valuable and to do the things that you want to do and learn to say no.
Very good and very touching indeed. Indeed. Okay, second questions. I want to know why startups want to pick Hong Kong as a starting point to build this technology hub for the entrepreneurship. You go first? You want to go first?
Hong Kong is a very, it's an interesting hub. From my previous experience, which is a consumer electronic world, Hong Kong is a very crucial spot for us because we can leverage our connection between our manufacturer and also it's very quick hop into my US market. That's where we're in US and Europe market. It's our main focus. So I think from a manufacturer standpoint, from sourcing standpoint, I think Hong Kong sets the best ground than anywhere else in the world. But at the same time, like for this company, it's also very interesting because we have a lot of different nationality. It is a melting pot. And for us to test product, for us to try strategy, it's just big enough for us to collect data, but it's yet small enough for us to make mistakes. So I think that's one of a benefit to Hong Kong as well.
Yeah, agree. Very important. POC, test ground. This is most important to commercialize the product. So Justin, how's your view?
Yeah, so I'll talk a bit specifically to technology-based startups. So one thing that might not be very, very clear to quite a lot of people is that the research support from the public sector side in Hong Kong is actually quite decent. So using us, for example, we have gotten around 20 million Hong Kong dollars from different sources, grants, to support research. And that goes beyond just that funding itself. We also have the infrastructure for us to do quite a lot of those. So all of our early clinical trials are based in Hong Kong, and we have the institutions that can allow us to do this. Hong Kong University, Chinese University are both really trustworthy reputation, good reputation ones that you can run research in. We also have very good academics that would support you. That's why we're working with 8 professors in Hong Kong just to run the clinical trials. So that specific setting is quite important for us as well. And I'd say in a healthcare sort of setting specifically, there is also an interesting ground, building on your point about testing ground. It's also interesting that we have a strong presence in both the private and public healthcare sector, and then that enables us to test both of the worlds. So public sector obviously comes from a very different objective. We look at everything in aggregate, like how we can do patient care a bit better from a public sector sense. We can save the cost, how we can give better well-being to people. But at the same time, you could also look at the private sector side where some of the businesses, they're not just looking at the clinical values. They need to look at the business value of things as well, which gives you a really different perspective in terms of shaping a product. So having that two worlds together in this sort of a developed sense, it's a very, very interesting ground for you to test all of this stuff. So for us, Hong Kong makes a lot of sense for us to go on and move on here. And obviously, there's also a manufacturing perspective. I agree a lot as well. Having that proximity allows you a lot quicker in terms of iteration, checking. Obviously, COVID makes it a lot harder to visit our factories, but in a longer-term sense, it's also really important for you to get a close relationship and trust between those partners that you have as well. And yeah, that's why we've picked Hong Kong for the test bed.
Great, great. And congratulations, you recently get the Gold Award in the Hong Kong ICT Award.
Thank you, thank you.
That's the Oscar, that's the Oscar for INT sector. Okay. Okay, Jackie. Well, as I mentioned earlier, Hong Kong have a lot of long history established player in the insurance industry. Why you guys pick Hong Kong to start this entrepreneurial journey for life insurance? Why?
I think I must be honest, I don't think it was by choice, but rather it was an opportunity that presented to us. The reason I say that is because I think the insurance industry is traditionally a very hard market for new players to enter. I mean, it's a very tightly regulated market, and it's not easy for a new company to obtain a license. I think that's true anywhere in the world. I think why we decided to go for it was because as I mentioned earlier, the Insurance Authority had the foresight to realize that the online distribution, it's not developing as quick as it should be in Hong Kong, and they, to their credit, actually went about and actually set up a program sandbox, and we're the result of that. So, to answer that question, I don't think it was ever a choice between Hong Kong and somewhere else. But I'm very glad that after kind of having that opportunity and grasping it, and now here we are, we have had a lot of help from various sectors within Hong Kong. For example, like as just mentioned, the public support or government support or initiative support for startups, especially when we were at earlier stage. We definitely benefited from the support and networkings and connections from Cyberport, for example. And secondly, I think in terms of the talent pool, I think a lot of people complain about Hong Kong perhaps is not the easiest place to recruit tech talents, for example. But I think from my experience, I wouldn't say we have had our difficulties, but I think we have also been able to attract a group of very talented, locally grown engineers and people from abroad alike. So I think as long as the mission and the story of what we're trying to achieve resonates with people, we can actually recruit some talents, and I think we're proven that to be the case. And lastly, I think Hong Kong's got a very unique advantage of being the doorsteps to Asia and China. I think that was definitely the case in the past. I think some people downplayed the role, but I'm optimistic, and I think the situation where Hong Kong, like the natural advantage of Hong Kong, I think a lot of it still remains, and I think it's a doorway to both markets for sure. So I'm very glad that we have that three advantages, having been able to start our journeys in Hong Kong.
Very good. Well, as someone might know, these days, this week, in Cyberport, we have a STEAM week for educators. So what we are promoting is, as you mentioned, the talent pool. So this is very, very important, especially now we have the policy already mentioned that we have some new areas, no matter in the North New Territories, as you might know or heard. So this is important that because we have to get enough time to build this talent pool in order to catch up the speed. Yeah, because even though if you have the infrastructure, you have the lands, you have the building, but imagine you have no talent, then what next? So this is, to us, we need to educate more in our young people right now. So what we are doing very heavily today. And so, well, as mentioned, this area mainly is for our development for future, and especially to connect with the GBA vision, right? So any good tips for the young entrepreneur on this Hong Kong platform to tap into the mainland market, especially of the existing the travel limitation. Recently we have some new news. Yeah, not very good news, but we have to face to it. So how we deal with those pandemic situation when we cannot back to mainland China, but at the same time we have to develop the GBA vision. How anyone want to go first? This is a very challenging question. Yeah. Well, so who want to go first? Especially you have the manufacturing line, partners in China and the US as well. Yeah, to Jackie maybe in science lower level. Think about it.
Sure. So we're talking about the opportunity and the challenges of GBA in general. So obviously this is always one of the topics and one of the things that people consider whenever they think about Hong Kong. And it's certainly a growing market that everyone is still learning and then seeing how we can adopt to it. So I would say as a supply chain, this is quite established. Manufacturing has always been a big plus for us, and having that proximity, having that infrastructure built up, it's something that we can enjoy quite a lot. In terms of the other way around, whether we can be a supplier of GBA, it's something that we're constantly learning and looking into. Obviously, there's still a cultural gap. We're closer to China in terms of culture compared to the rest of the world, but in the main sense that whether we can do a one-to-one sort of equivalent or culture, we don't have that in Hong Kong at this moment. But it's certainly something that we can look into it as well. But in GBA, it's a closer sense of what we can see in a more developed market. And it's not something that you just go straight into China and then look into the fast complexity of it. Something that you can sort of take a middle step. Looking in some of the developed world, you still see quite a lot of capitalism influence in it, and those would be something that we can look into. And certainly there's a lot of policy support that enables us to explore that as well with the medical sort of channel that we're building, with other things that we're looking at. So it's something that's very interesting that we could be looking at. Right now for us, we don't have a big presence in terms of sales in GBA yet. We're mostly focused on the Western market, but it's certainly something we're very open to look into as well.
Good. So Yvonne?
So from my previous company, we do have business into China. And I think, especially with the current situation, we pivot into more so, instead of just going into China all the time, I used to go to Shenzhen to see my clients on a monthly basis, if not on a bi-weekly basis. But now, with this situation, it does kind of saves us time. Instead of, there are a human interaction that is necessary to do business, especially in terms of sales and in terms of looking at the product and manufacturing and all that kind of sense. But I think we're kind of getting used to the fact that we don't always have to be there. But the GBA is definitely a kind of like a stepping stone. Obviously, it's a stepping stone into China, but at the same time, let's for instance, Lify. Currently, we're not in China yet. Can we go into China? Yes. But then there are also a lot of certification, a lot of restrictions, a lot of things and steps that we have to do in terms of the product itself and also the marketing standpoint to get it to be on off ground. So it could be a great opportunity for us to collaborate, perhaps, instead of if we can't be in there ourselves. I think it's more so important for us to find a great partner in the Greater China to be able to leverage each other's strength and to collaborate. So I think, with the current situation with the young entrepreneur, I think we need to look at it as a collaboration standpoint more so than I'm doing it all myself and I'm going over there and do it myself. And coming from the world is getting smaller and smaller. And the likelihood somebody over there is also doing something somewhat similar to you, and then if we can leverage each other, that's something that is much more powerful.
Thank you. So Jackie, how's your plan? Did you guys think about to tap into the China mainland market, or the different system, two different system, it cannot or can be?
I think at this very moment, a Hong Kong insurer is still not allowed to kind of set up any entities within mainland and distribute insurance. But I think there's, from what I know, there's a lot of discussions on seeing if there could be any change on that front. So I think we are paying close attention to that, and we are participating within the industry's effort to try to make the case on why that perhaps would be of mutual benefits for both the insurance industries in mainland and for Hong Kong as well. And the last part is just, from our perspective, just being prepared that should there ever be one day that the policy changes, then Bowtie would be ready to capitalize it on that front. And that probably, that involves basically kind of focusing on what we have on the advantage in the Hong Kong side. So like the connection to the well-known medical industries, and we do have some, in terms of within the insurance industry, we do have certain areas of competitive advantage as well, relative. So we will try to concentrate on that as well. But until the policy officially changes, we can only prepare ourselves.
Great. But if you are not wear the hat of Bowtie, just a entrepreneur, do you think any advantage that we to encourage those startup can leverage on our platform to go to GBA? So from from the non-Bowtie perspective. So how do you see this angle?
Sorry, your question is what exactly is it?
As the entrepreneur, because the startup mostly is not so tap into that system that can be not allow them go. So imagine you just say other categories of the entrepreneur. So how do you see that this Hong Kong as a platform to go to China? Do we have any advantage?
I certainly think so. I think, first of all, to kind of spell out the obvious, the market within mainland, it's one of the most highest potential, I would say, probably around Asia. And I think there's a lot of barrier to entry into new market. That applies for any industry, and that applies to any country you try to enter. And a lot of those barriers, I think, being a startup in Hong Kong is naturally lowered. I think there is a lot of favorable policies from mainland in terms of that is given to Hong Kong startups, and we certainly have been a beneficiary of that. And I think in terms of the culture-wise, us kind of speaking pretty much the same language and from a same cultural background, I think there is a lot of advantages in that as well. So to conclude, I think if I am to pick, let's say if I'm aiming for the a Chinese market, and if I'm a startup anywhere in Asia, one of the top choices that you want to start your company in, really I can think of, is probably Hong Kong. Yeah, aside from being mainland itself, but I'm assuming there's a reason why it has to be entering the market.
Yeah, that's true. As I mentioned, Alfred, our Secretary of ITB, he said, we are not alone. We should be seeing the GBA plan is our team player, just like in the football game. So we are part of it. So don't see them as the competitor, but we are as a one team. How we grow our business, how we push our startup to scale up, and then have more place to commercialize your ideas. So we should, from that angle, to see, right? Yeah. So next is I want to ask you each individual question. Are you ready? Okay. So Justin first. What was the biggest challenge in your business venture so far, especially the pandemic situation and also after the pandemic hit?
Sure. I think for quite a lot of startups, always talent. It's not just Hong Kong, it's most of the places in the world. We've been lucky in the sense that we were able to attract quite a lot of global talents. And obviously with the pandemic, it becomes a lot harder because simply sort of the talent mobility has been reduced for a lot of reasons. We have events in Hong Kong. We have the pandemic obviously making quarantine and other things a lot harder to onboard people. Sometimes the approval processes is not as fast as it could be on many paperwork, be it governments or other things. So this obviously is one of those, but at the same time, generally there has been an uptick of interest for us as well, and in terms of the sector in general, about healthcare, and in terms of the technology and the general concept about preventive care, about chronic disease management. Those are things that people see potential, and that's why we think we were seeing quite a lot of uptick in terms of interest, even from entirely different fields. We have PhDs from astrophysics, applying other things as well. People are willing to make use of their talents and then see whether they can tap into their own sort of expertise to put into a context of healthcare and grow into that as well. And we're certainly getting a lot of benefit from those sort of multidisciplined mindset to expand the team, and both in terms of a traditional mindset and in terms of the additional expertise we need to move the technology forward to make it a lot more attractive. That's how I would conclude, sort of the pandemic challenge and how we're adapting to those as well.
How many PhD in your team now? I heard a lot, right?
Just 7.
Just
Yeah.
7.
Yeah, and yeah. We also basically have partners in the professional world as well. I'm just counting my own team.
But is that hard to get those PhD talent in the team?
We actually have more eligible PhD applicants than non-PhDs. Not sure why, but yeah. But certainly it's not very, very easy. And obviously PhDs have their own expertise as well that we need to see whether it could be a good fit. But yeah, it's interesting as well. We can track quite a lot of PhDs from Hong Kong, from our position as well.
Good. So Jackie, traditionally the insurance business relies heavily on the relationship building, right? And face-to-face interaction. So Bowtie businesses completely disrupt the market, and divided from this, established the long time normal distribution, the norm of distribution. So how Bowtie manage this business when customer cannot be taught to the insurance agent or broker? So please share some of the insights to us.
I think what we try to do is we moved a lot of the insurance buying and servicing process online, but we kept what we thought would suffer from moving online offline. So what I mean by that is, as an insurer, we have our own customer representatives who are fully licensed insurance agents. They basically just, the way that they are commissioned is different from traditional methods of insurance brokerage or agency. But so if a customer wants, they can perfectly come and visit us and get the products explained to them, just like what the traditional industry would. But on the other hand, what we notice is a lot of customers, they notice that wait a minute, I don't want to kind of really book a time and actually meet someone face to face to actually get those done. I would like to use my spare time and just go online and get all those sorted. So what we try to do is just prepare both, present both options to our customers, and we find that to be a welcome solution to a lot of them, and I'm glad that more and more customers are buying into this model of having the insurance serviced.
Thank you. So last question go to Yvonne. So why still open the physical shop? Why not online?
Oh, that's a very good question. I was actually going to say, for you being an online offline, I see you have a coffee shop. So that's explain my reasoning. As I said earlier, it's very important for us to have online presence and offline presence at the same time, because that's how you can solidify your brand. And there are people who needs to touch and needs to see and needs to hear from you physically. So I think as much as we are all going into the online mode, online shopping and everything, we do still need to have offline presence for the brand to be recognized.
Very good, and very happy. We have a very great chat. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I would like to invite the online participant also to join the live networking session via Wemo. So yeah, okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much for our chair and panel speakers. Let's give a big applause to them for the inspiring discussion.